and the not-too-distant future. The world had changed, night had become eternal, and humanity's reign was over. Vampires, once mere legends, had emerged from the shadows and overtaken the planet. They were everywhere, their crimson eyes piercing the darkness, their fangs ever ready to feast on the living. Amidst this global takeover, in a small village nestled deep within a forgotten forest, a single human child remained. Her name was Elara. She was barely 7 years old, with eyes the color of twilight, and hair as dark as the night that now ruled the earth. She had survived alone, hidden away by her parents, who had sacrificed themselves to protect her. Elara's refuge was an old, abandoned chapel. The building, long since fallen into disrepair, was surrounded by a circle of ancient oak trees, their branches intertwining to form a protective canopy. The vampires, for reasons unknown, seemed to avoid this sacred place. Inside, Elara had created a small sanctuary. The pews were her bed, covered in a patchwork quilt her mother had sewn. An altar served as her table, holding candles, a few precious books, and a locket that had belonged to her mother. One fateful evening, as Elara scavenged for food in the overgrown garden, she heard a rustle in the bushes. Her heart raced, and she quickly hid behind a crumbling stone wall, peering through a crack. A figure emerged, not a vampire, but a tall, cloaked man. His face was hidden in shadow, but his movements were slow and deliberate. "Little one," he called softly, his voice echoing through the silent night, "I mean you no harm." Elara hesitated, clutching a broken piece of wood as a makeshift weapon. The man continued, "I know you are afraid, but I am not your enemy. My name is Lucian. I was once human, like you." Cautiously, Elara stepped out from her hiding place. Lucian knelt down to her level, revealing his face pale, with eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. He was a vampire, but there was something different about him. "I was turned against my will," Lucian explained, his voice tinged with sorrow. "I have spent centuries fighting against my nature, seeking a way to undo this curse." Elara's fear began to subside, replaced by curiosity and a flicker of hope. "Can you help me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Lucian nodded. "There is a prophecy," he said. "It speaks of a child of pure heart, untouched by the darkness, who holds the key to restoring balance. I believe you are that child, Elara." Over the following weeks, Lucian and Elara formed an unlikely bond. He taught her how to survive, to find food, and to defend herself. In return, she shared stories of her family and the world before the vampires. Lucian listened, a spark of humanity rekindling within him. One night, as they sat by a small fire in the chapel, Lucian revealed the final piece of the prophecy. "To break the curse, we must reach the source of night," he said. "It is a place where the first vampire was created, hidden deep within the mountains. You must touch the source. Elara, your purity can cleanse it." With determination, they set out on their perilous journey. The path was fraught with dangers, vampire patrols, treacherous terrain, and the ever-present darkness. But Elara's resolve never wavered, and Lucian's guidance kept them safe. After weeks of travel, they finally stood before the entrance to a cavern, deep within the mountains. A palpable sense of foreboding hung in the air. "This is it," Lucian whispered, "the source lies within." As they ventured into the cavern, an eerie glow illuminated the path. The walls were covered in ancient, cryptic symbols that seemed to pulsate with a life of their own. Stalactites and stalagmites formed a natural cathedral, and at the heart of the chamber, a pulsating orb of darkness hovered above an ancient altar, the source of night. Elara approached the orb, her small hand reaching out. Lucian watched, a mixture of hope and fear in his eyes. As her fingers brushed the surface, a blinding light erupted, filling the cavern with a brilliant radiance. The darkness was shattered. The eternal night lifted, replaced by the soft hues of dawn. The vampires, scattered across the globe, felt the curse lifting. They were free. Lucian, too, felt the change. His vampire form dissolved, leaving behind a man human once more. Tears streamed down his face as he knelt before Elara, gratitude and awe in his eyes. "You did it," he whispered. "You saved us all." Elara smiled, the weight of the world lifting from her small shoulders. She had brought light back to the world, proving that even in the darkest times, hope and purity could prevail. As they stepped out of the cavern, they were greeted by a breathtaking sunrise. The world was awakening from its long, dark slumber. Birds sang, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and fresh earth. Lucian and Elara made their way back to the chapel, now a symbol of their victory and a beacon of hope. News of the curses and spread quickly, and survivors began to emerge from their hiding places, drawn to the promise of a new beginning. Together, Lucian and Elara led the effort to rebuild the world. They formed a community within the forest, where humans and former vampires worked side by side. The chapel was restored to its former glory, becoming a place of worship and a school where Elara taught the next generation about courage, resilience, and the power of hope. Years passed, and Elara grew into a wise and beloved leader. The world flourished under her guidance, and the memory of the dark times faded into legend. The story of the little girl who saved humanity was told and retold, inspiring countless generations. In the end, Elara's legacy was one of light and love. She proved that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, a single pure heart could change the world. And as the sun rose each day, its rays casting a warm glow over the land, the people remembered the girl who had brought them back into the light.